All right, I'm pumped up to talk some Niners football today, as I am every single day, because that's what we do here on the 49ers Report, free daily videos, year-round coverage. So make sure you subscribe. We're 90 people away from hitting 72,000 subs. I think we can get there with this video. It's the hottest team in football, San Francisco. Let's get it, and let's start today's show. So the new year is almost here, and if you want to spike up your wardrobe, make sure you do so with Roan and their commuter collection, which we'll tell you about here. Coming up in a few moments on today's show, I'm wearing their commuter shirt right now. 20% off for our faithful audience if you head to roan.com/chatsports. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video with the promo code chatsports as well. So this is the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and here's what we're getting into on today's program. ESPN Insider pitching a Trey Lance trade to the Houston Texans. I want to unpack that. Should San Francisco bring Davante Adams home because he's from Northern California and he went to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr, and now Carr's tenure with Las Vegas seems to be all but done, and a positive Deebo Samuel update. Make sure you stay tuned for that because that is significant for this football team as they look to win another Super Bowl. We begin with Trey Lance, though. So an ESPN Insider saying this week he thinks that the Houston Texans should trade away their second-round pick, which is nearly a first-round pick, in exchange for Trey Lance for him to be their franchise quarterback, especially if Brock Purdy continues to play well. Now, we're going to take a look at what Dan Graziano had to say, the NFL insider for ESPN, and then I'll expand my thoughts on this. Here's what Graziano said. The Houston Texans should trade their second-round pick, likely to be either number 32 or number 33, to the San Francisco 49ers for Trey Lance. If Houston isn't sure about the upcoming quarterbacks at the top of the draft, this would allow it to bring in a high upside player who turns 23 in May and has had the benefit of 2 years worth of high-level coaching and development in San Francisco. It also would allow the Texans to use their 2 first-round picks to instead find high-impact helpers on defense and the offensive line. Lastly, if the 49ers get to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, they're going to be tempted to run it back with him, of course. Getting something in return for Lance as he heads into the 3rd year of his rookie contract would make great sense, even if it's far, far less than what they gave up to get him in the first place. Now, this is why the Texans would make this trade for Trey Lance and why San Francisco might be inclined if Brock Purdy continues to ball out, sling the rock, and play good football. Houston is desperate for a quarterback. Long neck Davis Mills just ain't it. Lance is soon to be 23 years old, so there's a lot of time left for him to develop into a quarterback and really fulfill those expectations of being drafted number 3 overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. He has that untapped potential and ability because he's 6'4", 225 with a really strong arm. And in today's NFL, a lot of teams do covet quarterbacks who have athleticism and mobility. Lance checks all of those boxes. And when you look at the 2023 class, I like Bryce Young. Outside of that, I don't like a lot of these quarterback prospects. So could Houston look to use their first-round picks to really bulk up areas of need and find an impact player for the next 10 to 12 years, like at offensive tackle, maybe even edge rusher, and then use that second-round pick to basically draft a quarterback, so to speak, but really they're trading for Trey Lance, who might be better outside of Bryce Young than any other quarterback prospect in this draft class. And I'm not saying that because San Francisco might be inclined. Like, I'm saying it because I legitimately believe that if Trey Lance were in this draft class, if you were in last year's draft class, he would have been one of the top quarterbacks taken because he has things that teams covet at that quarterback spot. And again, going into year 3, about to be 23 years old, he has untapped potential and he can develop into a very good player. So before we continue to unpack this, let me ask you this question. Would you, in the shoes of John Lynch, as well as Kyle Shanahan, trade Trey Lance to Houston for a second-round pick? Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. Let me know right now in the comment section. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, 49ers Report today is presented by Roan. And make sure you stay tuned with us because we have a loaded show still to come, talking Davante Adams and Deebo Samuel and more on Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and a potential trade to the Texans. But when I think about Roan, especially the shirt that I'm wearing here today, a few words come to mind when I'm rocking my gear from them. Comfort, mobility, versatility, look good, feel good, play good. That's what I do here at Chat Sports. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention. Roan stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter collection, the most comfortable, breathable, flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. We're not just talking about dress shirts here. They have quarter zips and polos. They have golf polos, dress shirts, very comfortable pants, all as part of their commuter collection. And their comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy whatever life throws your way. From your commute to work, putting in that work, that grind, and that hustle like we do here on the Niners Report, to your 18 holes of golf. Gold Fuse and anti-odor technology. Machine washable, so you don't have to worry about any more dry cleaner costs. It's RHONE.com/chatsports. Promo code chatsports for that deal of 20% off your entire order. Apply. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Now, of course, when you're thinking about either trading for a player or trading away a player, in this case, Trey Lance, the 49ers, because they used 3 first-round picks to move up to take Lance and traded some of those picks away for Christian McCaffrey, which has ended up being a massive win. They do not have a lot of draft picks in the chamber, in the shotgun, ready to fly. So round 3 compensatory pick, they have 2 of them because of Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh, front office executives leaving because of the Rooney Rule. Round 5, they have a selection. They're very good drafting in the middle rounds. Round 4, buy that trade with the Miami Dolphins for Jeff Wilson. Round 7, they have 2 of those selections. So as of right now, 6 picks. And when you think about that pick that could check in at 32 or 33 overall, it's nearly a first-round pick. And at that spot, you can find a very good, quality, cheap, and impact player who could be available to play for you for an affordable price, play right away for a team that has a lot of financial questions moving forward, because you have to imagine they're going to pay Nick Bosa. They might want to pay Brandon Ayuk. They got Deebo Samuel out of the way. They have rookie quarterbacks on their rookie contracts, which are good. Second year, obviously, for Trey Lance, rookie quarterback as far as Brock Purdy, but a lot of big decisions looming for San Francisco, and you saw them draft an impact player right away later in the second round with a guy like Drake Jackson, and under this regime for Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they've been able to really pinpoint really solid players after the first round, and in some instances, like Nick Bosa, in the first round. So that number 32, number 33 pick could be very, very appealing. And let's just talk about Brock Purdy here really quickly. Pump the brakes on Brock Purdy. Let's wait and see what type of quarterback he can be. Has he exceeded all expectations up to this point? Yes. Is he and Dan Marino the only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for multiple touchdowns in their first 3 starts and have a 100-plus passer rating? Yes. Purdy's been awesome. He's been great. He's been one of the best stories in the National Football League. You can't yet say that Brock Purdy is going to be the next Tom Brady or the next Joe Montana. As for the 49ers quarterback plan in 2023, the play of Purdy has at least forced the conversation, and it's brought up the question, okay, is he our guy? Is Trey Lance our guy? And if Brock Purdy is the guy, does it make sense to have Lance on this roster? I'll tell you this about the Niners quarterback situation going into next year as currently constructed. 2 young, capable, talented quarterbacks on their rookie contracts being affordable with a loaded supporting cast, that has been the formula to win in the National Football League. The Eagles did it with Carson Wentz in 2017. Bengals did it with Joe Burrow. Chiefs did it several years ago with Patrick Mahomes. You get that quarterback on their rookie contract when they're only making a few $1 million, in Brock Purdy's case, less than $1 million. You're able to build out the rest of your roster, which is honestly more important and more valuable than having a quarterback like a Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, who are making $40, $50 million, or in Lamar's case, is about to make that much money. So it does prohibit you from building out the rest of your roster. So to have Lance and Purdy on this team, it's actually a pretty good problem to have. And Lance is definitely the more gifted and talented quarterback. That's what we know. Brock Purdy doesn't have his athleticism. He doesn't have the bazooka for an arm that Trey Lance has. That does not mean, though, just because Lance is the more gifted, talented quarterback with stupid athletic traits and attributes, that he is going to be the better quarterback as compared to Brock Purdy. If athleticism meant everything, Jamarcus Russell would have been a fantastic player. Zach Wilson would be thriving and flourishing in the NFL. Sometimes, when it comes down to the quarterback position, it comes down to locking down the nuances of the quarterback position. That's what Joe Montana did. He wasn't a great athlete, didn't have the strongest arm. The same can be said for Tom Brady. I'm not going to go as far as to say that Purdy is going to be one of the GOATs, but so far so good. And if Trey Lance doesn't have the accuracy that Purdy has and the ability to quickly identify what the defense is doing and distribute the football, then San Francisco in this offense with how Kyle Shanahan likes to run it, they might go with Purdy in the future, opening up an avenue in which Trey Lance can get traded. I wouldn't be shocked one bit. I'm going to put you to the test one more time in the comment section here. Your 2023 starter, who is it? Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, TL for Lance, BP for Brock Purdy. Let us know. Coming up now on the show, should the 49ers trade for Davante Adams and bring him back home to Northern California because of the dysfunction within that Raiders organization? Also, positive Deebo Samuel update. So let's talk about Davante Adams here. After the benching of Derek Carr, he was in the Raiders locker room and said that Derek Carr was the sole and lone reason why Davante Adams wanted to go to the Las Vegas Raiders to team up with his college teammate who he balled out with at Fresno State in Northern California. And Davante Adams has a lot of ties to the Bay Area. He was born in Redwood City, about 26 miles away from San Francisco. He went to Palo Alto High School in California. He also played at Fresno State in Northern California. So the ties to the Bay Area, whether it be Santa Clara, San Francisco, whatever, they are there for Davante Adams. And speaking of the player individually, this guy is a stupid, talented wide receiver who's going to go down as one of the best to ever do it. The production has been there for a really, really long time. And when it comes down to being a route technician, having great hands, size, speed, everything, Davante Adams can check all of those boxes. And he's been getting it done for a really long time. 2018, nearly 1,400 yards. 2019, nearly 1,000. 2020, 18 touchdowns. That was a record in 2020 for a wide receiver that year. And in 2021 last year, final season with Aaron Rodgers as he won back-to-back MVPs, 11 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. Now, his numbers this year, they're actually pretty shocking considering how bad Derek Carr has been and the lulls that the Raiders offense has gone on throughout the 2022 campaign. These numbers are pretty shocking. 2 games left, Davante Adams is still probably going to have about 100 catches for more than 1,300 yards. He already has 12 touchdowns with an average yards per catch of 14.7. So even though Derek Carr's play has been subpar to bad and average throughout much of this year, hasn't stopped Davante Adams from being arguably the best wide receiver in the game this year and putting up video game stupid-like numbers. When you do think about making a trade for Davante Adams, it does come with a cost, though. And it could be cost prohibitive for San Francisco. They want to pay Bosa, probably want to pay Brandon Ayuk as well. Now, next year, 2023, pretty affordable. Cap hit, less than $15 million, base salary of $6 million. 2024, it goes up to a base of nearly 17, cap hit at 23.5. 2025, 2026 is when it starts to get very, very expensive. And at that point, he'll be one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL. He already is. Base salary, 35.5, cap hit 44.1. in the last 2 years of his contract, 2025, 2026. There is a potential out in 2025, but it does come with a dead cap charge of $15.7 million. And I don't think that the 49ers need to trade for Davante Adams. I don't think they're going to trade for Davante Adams. But general managers, scouting departments, coaching staffs are always having meetings. They're always having these discussions as to how they can better improve their football team. Bringing in Davante Adams would improve your football team. Now, I do think that the Niners should pay Brandon Ayuk soon. He's gotten better in each of his 3 years in the National Football League, and he's one of the sneaky best, most refined route runners in the National Football League, and he's one of the more overall underrated wide receivers in the NFL, and he won't come at the cost of Davante Adams with production that can be somewhat similar. And if the Niners want to pay Ayuk after this year, going into the final year of his rookie contract like they did with Deebo, honestly, they could get him on a bargain, in my opinion. So another question for the homies, would you trade for Davante Adams? I would say no, but if you disagree with me, give me a Y for yes. As for Deebo Samuel, continues to trend in the right direction for his return to this Niners lineup. Kyle Shanahan saying on Wednesday that Deebo has a chance to practice on Thursday. Took a look at his Instagram. He was up early, going to the facility, and if he's able to return next week to get some snaps, minimal snaps, of course, to avoid injury prior to the playoff game, then he can shake off a little bit of rest. And what's crazy about Deebo to all accounts, he's had a down year, right? Especially considering what he did last year. A down year for Deebo, missing games, not being an instrumental part of this offense. The pass game struggled there for a little bit. A down year is still 54 catches, 612 yards, 41 carries, 228 yards on the ground, and 5 total touchdowns. So a special player who, when he is on the football field, is a game breaker. He could take it to the crib at any moment. Yards after the catch, he's the best in the NFL at that wide receiver spot, and a dynamic playmaker that forces defensive coordinators to stay up at night thinking, how am I going to stop Christian McCaffrey, maybe Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle? It's a handful with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays. Before we hop on out of here, if you haven't given me a follow on Twitter and Instagram, do so right now. It's at Chase_Senior on both. I always tweet out my thoughts on the Niners. News, rumors, analysis. I tweet out clips from the show. I tweet out clips and tweets that just take off on social media because I do have a large Niners following, and I want to continue to grow on that. So make sure you give me a follow. I appreciate all of that in advance.